It now being 7:07, this regular meeting and hearings of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Orleans is called to order. President, myself, Michael P. Marnick, the chair, Rolf Soderstrom, regular member, and associate members Gerald Mulligan and William McCarthy. Excused are regular member Greg Delory and Matthew Cole. Beth McCartney, regular member, is en route. For also present is the board secretary Sandy Stewart and the building commissioner of the town of Orleans, Brian Harrison. It is in order to consider and accept or modify the minutes of the meetings of March 5, 2014, April 16, 2014, and May 7, 2014, all of which have been circulated. A motion to accept, or unless there is a modification suggested.
I'll make the move. Second.
And Mr. Soderstrom moved to accept, second by Mr. Mulligan. Is there any discussion on the motion? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The minutes may be accepted and recorded as recorded. Tonight's hearings are three in number. We intend to consider them in their numerical order, and I'll ask if those who intend to present the applications are present and ready to proceed. Case number 1985 is the application of Alba and Kenneth Gandolfi for a variance.
Yes, sir.
Case number 1986, the application of John and Teresa Rosengren.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And case number 1987, the application of Michael and Tracy Roberge.
Yes.
You represent the applicant. Mr. Mulligan will be excused from consideration, leaving at the time of the hearing on 1987 4 members, and you may decide at any time whether you wish to proceed and observe the discussion with the quorum, which should be present then. You could do it that way, or any way that you choose, but we will have only 4 members to consider the Roberge application.
Just hope Beth shows up.
Very well. Then, we will proceed in the hearing of case number 1985, and the application of Alba and Kenneth Gandolfi for a variance under General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 10, the property being located at 84 Captain Linnell Road, Orleans, map 32, parcel 53. And is there any member present who has communicated with the applicant or anyone on behalf of the applicant, or has any other connection to the this application in hearing which would create a conflict of interest as covered by the general laws?
No.
Then no positive response, and I declare the members of the board indifferent and qualified to consider the application. Mr. Little, will you proceed?
I'm prepared to proceed.
Very
yes,
well.
Thank you very much. David Little, representing Ken and Alba Gandolfi. It came as somewhat of a surprise to the Gandolfis that we find ourselves in Conservation Commission for construction of a screen porch over an existing deck. And then upon further research with the building department and Mr. Harrison, we learned that the deck was constructed without a building permit. And that being said, I provided, and the Gandolfis provided, documentation that at least proves that the deck was in its existing location when they purchased the property. We provided information from the appraiser. We had photographs that it was in existence when they purchased it, and they were totally unaware at that time that the deck was constructed in violation of setbacks without the appropriate permits. So I am here on behalf of them to request a variance from this board to allow them to move forward with their plans to construct a screen porch over the existing deck. There was a letter that the Gandolfis wrote to the Board of Appeals, which I submitted into the record. And I assume most people have had an opportunity to get to the site, but I have photographs of the front and the rear of the house showing the location of the deck as it presently exists on the rear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
So I'm here basically with the instruction from Brian Harrison that indicated a variance is required for this. So that being said, I believe the applicant would be denied the ability to construct a screen porch in what is the most logical location with respect to the existing dwelling and the existing yard. That, number one, is a hardship. We have a situation where the house exists. As you can see, it's immediately adjacent to a wetland. The configuration of the house does not lend itself in any other location to construct a new deck and a screen porch. The hardship is owing to the irregular shape of the lot and the proximity of the adjacent wetland. The situation that the Gandolfis have out here in the Captain Linnell Road area is that being in such a low area and such a proximate location to the dwelling is very buggy in the sun. And they find it necessary to construct a screen porch so that they can at least enjoy going out on their deck in the either early morning or late evening hours when it is very buggy. So, given the irregular shape of the lot, and I do know irregular, I mean it's a long, narrow lot. The deck itself, unfortunately, the existing deck is located at the one point where the easterly property line becomes closest to the house. And so we certainly believe that relief could be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without derogating from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. And I think given the location, given the low area of the house, they would really be not denied the ability to use the house as they purchased it. This is not this hardship that they're in now. They were totally unaware of. When they purchased the property, there was nothing in the title search that showed them that they were buying a house that had a deck that was non-conforming. So we're here to request a variance based on those comments. That would be my presentation. Thank you very much.
Mr. Little, are you, what inquiry have you made to determine the actual provenance of that deck, whether or not it was constructed at the same time of the dwelling? Could you determine any history of, we know that the Gandolfis are ignorant of its existence before the time that they acquired the property, because if you had some evidence to present, then we could determine whether it was grandfathered some other way.
All I have, Mr. Chairman, is a copy of the proposed sewage disposal system that our office, Ryder and Wilcox, prepared for the person that built the house, Hunter Craig, and at which time there was no deck. We went before the Conservation Commission to get approval for construction of the house very close to a wetland, which I should also add today would be highly unlikely. But back in 1984, we were able to get permission to build a house. No deck was shown at that point in time. I went to Mr. Harrison to go through the building department records, and there is a record of a long, narrow deck going along the edge of the building, but we couldn't find anything either there or in the Board of Health that showed that any permit was granted for the deck.
We may conclude, therefore, that the deck was constructed between 1984 and 2008.
2006.
2006.
Yes, sir.
The locus, besides having features of a portion of the land being within the riparian zone, also is highly vegetated, and a portion also being wetland. So,
And Mr. Chairman, I would like to note that while the deck is non-conforming, we are improving the non-conformity, albeit very in a minor way. A portion of the existing deck is going away, so where it's currently 8.8 feet from the property line, the new porch will be 10.1 feet. So we have made an attempt to at least reduce the non-conforming nature of the structure.
so what's happening is you're not constructing over the existing deck. You're replacing the existing deck and putting in a room.
Yes, it's going to require new sonotube footings, and we made that clear to the Conservation Commission.
I note that the order of conditions has been recorded at the Registry of Deeds, and the Conservation Commission, I'm assuming, had this plan available to it.
They did, and I have a copy that I'll submit to the record that was actually stamped approved by the Commission.
Then we will receive this as a, in addition to the previously filed site plan. We will also receive the photographs of the locus as part of our file. Do any members of the board have any question of Mr. Little for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, it may not be one that David can answer, but I was curious, in the contents of our handout was, looks like an invoice or a receipt for an appraisal conducted at on behalf of Nauset Mortgage back in 2/21/06, and it's a curious thing that oftentimes one will do a plot plan,
A mortgage plot plan.
if not a full survey type thing, and found many a shed that was partially across the line, so it was an encroachment or whatever, and curious if that might have been.
No, they did not. I don't know the situation with whether they needed a mortgage to purchase this. It's an appraisal, I believe.
Right.
So I don't know. The Gandolfis provided me with all the information they had, which was a dated photograph and that document along with the photographs that accompanied it, which showed the deck there.
Sure.
But this came as a shock to them.
Sure, I can appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, the only other comment I would make is that recollection of what I limited remember from law school days was that if there's anything that resembles a pork chop lot, the shape of this lot kind of fits that description, and so I would say that would support the irregularity of the site conditions and topography, shape of the lot type thing. So. But and I appreciate your mentioning the reduction, if you will, in the deck, because I was trying to reconcile that photo, which looked like it came out from the building further, but it's being trimmed back, if we can use that word.
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay. Last question, any interaction with the abutters or neighbors that?
I have not. I've represented them before the Conservation Commission, and no one came to that meeting, and it appears that I don't believe any of the people here are, and I've been to the site many times, and I've seen the neighbors, and I haven't had any interaction with them.
Okay. No more questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you.
The copy of the portion of the assessor's plan in the Board of Appeals file shows that the property at 8 Minot's Way straddles that stream and would be the abutting owner, the Minot's Way being on, as the crow flies is one distance, but to get from 84 Captain Linnell Road to 8 Minot's Way requires some distance.
And
it's all vegetated and.
It's heavily vegetated. I think if anybody went to the backyard to view the deck, it's extremely well vegetated, and I don't believe you can see the deck from anywhere.
That's probably how it was constructed.
I guess I think you're probably right.
Is there any further questions?
If the deck was legal, would we cover that by a special permit?
Yes.
The-
That's my understanding.
So the reason we're taking the variance route is because we're putting a porch on top of a legal,
A structure that never received a permit.
yeah.
So the setback would be
25 feet.
It should be 25.
So, wouldn't it be a variance anyway?
No. What we were exploring was if there were evidence to determine when the deck was
the
constructed
okay.
without a permit,
Sure.
then there's a certain amount of time the meter would run on that,
Right.
and then there would be a special permit to bootstrap on top of it.
Okay.
In other words, to continue the non-conforming use, which would be a different twist.
Extension of.
Yeah, but we can't we don't know that, it appears that an investigation was made, and we can only proceed from 2006 when the Gandolfins acquired ownership. Is there any further questions? Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application, or opposed, or in any way concerning the application? If there's no further evidence to produce, then I'll close the hearing. Is there any discussion on this? I propose some findings of fact following public deliberation by the Zoning Board of Appeals. A quorum of qualified members being present and voting. Let the record reflect that Ms. McCartney joined the meeting during the presentation by the applicant, And based upon the application of Alba and Kenneth Gandolfi filed May 9, 2014, and based also upon the site plan prepared by Ryder and Wilcox, Inc., entitled Site Plan Showing Proposed Screen Porch, dated February 10, 2014, revised March 12, 2014, and the decision and order of conditions of the Orleans Conservation Commission dated April 15, 2014, recorded with Barnstable Registry of Deeds in Book 28104, page 272. And the photographs and substituted site plan filed at the hearing. I move that the board adopt the following findings of fact. 1, the subject of property known as 84 Captain Linnell Road in Orleans is shown as parcel 53 in Orleans map 32 and is in an R district. 2, the present use of the property is a single-family residence. 3, the proposed use of the property is a single-family residence with a newly constructed screen porch over a newly constructed deck. Excuse me. 4, the location of the deck pre-existing the acquisition of the property by the applicants. No building permit was ever issued for the construction of the existing deck. 5, after construction of the new deck, the setback will be 10.1 feet. Therefore, there would be a nonconformity of 14.9 feet from the 25-foot setback requirement. 6, hardship exists since the applicants would be denied the ability to construct a screened porch in the most logical location considering the existing dwelling and yard. 7, the hardship is owing to soil conditions, shape, and topography. Specifically, the irregular shape of the lot and the proximity of the adjacent wetland. 8, relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without derogating from the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. That concludes the motion for findings of fact. Is there a second?
Second.
Very well. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Therefore, based on the findings of fact, I move that the board grant a variance pursuant to sections 164B2, A, B, and C of the zoning bylaw to run with the land. Do I hear a second to the motion to grant the variance? Mr. McCarthy seconds. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you very much.
Case number 1986 is the application of John Rosengren and Teresa Rosengren for a special permit. Now, are there any members of the board who've had any communication with the applicant or anyone representing the applicant concerning the application? Which communication would constitute or create the suspicion of a conflict of interest? There's no positive response. Therefore, I declare the members of the board, consisting of myself, Beth McCartney, Rolf Soderstrom, William McCarthy, and Gerald Mulligan, indifferent and qualified to consider the application. Mr. Landrith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Dwayne Landrith, and I represent John and Teresa Rosengren. They own 15 Dome Road, but are unable to be present tonight because they are full-time residents of Barrington, Illinois. Accompanying me is David Little, who drew the plans, site plan, and steered this through the Conservation Commission, as well as had a hand in, I'm sure, designing the septic system that was an upgrade that will go with this project. As the notice indicated, the Rosengrens are applying for a special permit to alter a pre-existing non-conforming single-family residence by adding to their house in 2 specific places and also shifting their rear deck about 3.5 feet in a westerly direction. The materials that were provided with the application were a site plan dated 4/15/14, which was revised on the 5th of May 2014. It shows the proposed renovations and additions, and it was prepared by Ryder Wilcox, page 1 of 2. Also supplied were 2 pages of plans showing the existing elevations and the existing first and second floor plans, likewise prepared by Ryder Wilcox, someone else within that organization, and they're dated 5/5/14. Finally, as the plans for the proposed elevations and proposed first floor plan were also prepared by Ryder Wilcox in 2 pages and dated 5/15/14. Note that there will not be any changes in the second story of the house, and thus the floor plan of the second story after the project is completed is shown on the existing conditions plan. The subject plan site is located on the northwest corner of Doane Road and Carver Road in Nauset Heights. The lot was created in December 2nd, 1952, when it was recorded at the Barnstable Registry of Deeds as Plan Book 107, page 11. The plan showed a redivision of lots 7 and 8 of the original Nauset Heights subdivision into lot 7A, the subject, lots 7B, 8A, and 8B. While I haven't presented it as part of the application, I do have a copy of that plan should we need to refer to it for reference. The resultant lot 7A was a rectangle with frontage on Doane Road of 107 feet and a depth of 80 feet for a gross area of 8,560 square feet. A wetland survey for the project revealed that to the northerly of the lot on its west side is a freshwater wetland which impinges slightly on the lot and reduces the buildable upland by a whole 3 square feet to 8,557. It also imposed limitations from the Conservation Commission's point of view. I would also note, though, that it is not one of those wetlands which is recognized by Section 164.21C as requiring a particular setback. David can verify the wetland, but I believe it's a freshwater wetland, and I suspect it's probably a border and vegetated wetland. But in any event, we do not rely upon it as a limiting factor with regard to the height of the structure. The height of the structure isn't going to change, and even if we were to consider it as one that is subject to the 164.21C, it wouldn't make any difference in the analysis that I'm offering because no part of the structure comes any closer to that wetland than in the final analysis than it is right now. So it's a moot point. The existing conditions are shown on the site plan. The bird's eye view of the house shows both existing and proposed conditions. The existing structure is a 2-story structure, as I said, on a roughly east-west axis with a small projection to the back of it and a rear deck. The calculated building coverage of that structure with the existing shed is 1,073 feet, or 12.5%. The house is pre-existing non-conforming in two respects. On the west side of the house, it is 18.2 feet from the property line where the side yard setback should be 25 feet, based upon current codes. In the information that's in the town file, this is a lawful nonconformity. The assessor's card shows that the house was originally built in 1950, which would mean that when the lot was redrawn in 1952, the existing structure at 18.2 feet was established. I note that the sideline setbacks of 25 feet were instituted in 1971 when a new section 4.2 was added to the bylaw. The requirement was that that requirement was established almost 20 years after the lot was created. There is no evidence to show that the house was added to between 1953 and 1971. Building records show that in 1975, the second story was added to the house. And there's a plan in the file dated 9/18/75 showing existing conditions and showing the L on the west side of the house in its current configuration, that is at 18 feet. Ryder and Wilcox measured that a little more carefully at 18.2 feet. There are no further records in the town building files which show any activity with respect to this house. Consistent with the analysis of the setback anomaly of 14.4 feet to the deck in the back lot line. Now, I will freely confess that I don't have anything that demonstrates when that deck was put on. I did not note when I looked at the file as to whether it was 14.4 feet at the time that the 1970 the application for an enlargement was done in the 80s. I would say, though, with regard to that deck has existed since the Rosengrens obtained the property, and to the extent that the bylaw allows one to leapfrog by means of nonconformities, it would be possible to grant a special permit to put that deck on in a location afresh at 14.4 feet, as long as one could make the requisite showing. I note the discussion with regard to the earlier hearing on this particular matter, and would rely upon the equity considerations. But I can't establish for you when the deck went on. And as we know from the last hearing, decks don't necessarily always come with a birth certificate of a building permit. As I indicated to you, I don't rely in any way upon 164.21C, even though the application does take that up as a matter of prudence. But in any event, the building height of 20.7 feet it is not going to change. So there's no aggravation of that factor. Now, the proposal is they want to convert the house to be more suited for year-round living by creating a master bedroom on the first floor and making other habitation improvements. Because of the lot size and the 15% building coverage, and I might add also the proximity of the wetland, their options were constrained. The physical changes they're making in the building are, one, on the southwest, they're going to add an area of 8 by 12 feet, which is essentially in the front of the house, to function as an office. On the east side of the house, they are proposing an addition that is 19 feet in depth, the width of the house at that point, and 9 feet 4 inches in width east to west. This allows the conversion of the existing space to a master bedroom and bath, a washer dryer in the existing powder room, and more adequate closet space. They are also, of course, eliminating 2 bedrooms in order to convert to 3 bedrooms. So they're not offering that concession, it's necessary by the constraints of the lot. The third physical change they propose to make in the property is to remove a stub area of 37 square feet at the back of the house, which is now part of the kitchen. This is necessitated by the building coverage issue. They also propose to slide the deck to the west about 3 feet and slightly reconfigure it. It will remain 14.4 feet from the back lot line and 18 feet from the wetland. Last, they are proposing to remove the shed on the northwest corner, which takes away another 85 square feet of building coverage. At the end of the day, with this project built, the building coverage will be 1,256 square feet, which is 14.7% of the buildable upland. The sideline conformity is increased by 2 1/2 inches to 18.0 feet. And I don't know why that's being done, and I asked David why that, and for the first time in my life, in my experience, he wasn't able to answer a question. So it just is. That 2 1/2 inches is going to remain a puzzle for me, but I hope it won't disturb you in the final calculation. The special permit criteria will be satisfied handily in this case. As far as adequacy of the lot, currently it's a 5-bedroom house. It's going to be reduced to 3 bedrooms. The lot is less than 15% of building coverage, which is the final arbiter. The site is suitable for this. It's a residential use in a residential zone. The house is modest in size. It won't stand out in this established neighborhood. 3, the impact on traffic flow and safety. The current access will be maintained. There's no change anticipated. As far as impact on the visual character of the neighborhood, the addition will have no impact on views of anyone. And the first 4 additions, I would submit, improve the look of the house by varying the roof line. There is adequate town water to the site. The sewage disposal is being upgraded to a 3-bedroom system. It's as far as drainage is concerned, am I correct, David? There's a drainage, a catch basin to be installed within the. That's an existing catch basin. Okay. There will be no change in the drainage pattern, though, with regard to the property. Utilities and public services are available to the lot. Noise and litter, there's no impact. Groundwater quality is to be improved by the enhanced septic treatment. Conservation Commission issued an order of conditions for this property, and I want to hand it in just for the record because it makes reference to a 4/15/2014 plan, and the site plan that I've given to you has a revision date beyond that. So just so that we have both plans available, I'll provide that. In closing, I just want to pass along to you a thought from the Rosengrens. When they brought this project in, we said to them, well, given the problems that there are in expanding this lot, why don't you just, start afresh? And they said, this is the best neighborhood in town, and they would rather stay in this neighborhood than go anywhere else in town, so they were prepared to stand down from having their dream house in favor of being able to continue in this. And there is a neighbor here whom I believe, a next door neighbor whom I believe will speak in favor of this, and I think he can probably verify the fact that this is a very close neighborhood. So I ask you to grant a special permit for this eminently reasonable project, and David and I are prepared to answer any questions.
Let the record reflect that you've answered one of my questions, and that is by providing the order of conditions of the Conservation Commission of the Town of Orleans dated May 21, 2014, either recorded or to be recorded at Barnstable Registry of Deeds. And the plan, which is endorsed by, the plan entitled Site Plan Proposed Renovations and Additions, also endorsed, approved by the Orleans Conservation Commission. What you're doing here is in the back deck is being bumped to the west by 3 feet, give or take, but the existing 14.4 setback is not being affected.
Correct.
The, by 2/10 of a foot, the setback on the westerly side will be affected.
I can address that now, Mr. Chairman.
You do want to make a change to the plan?
No, I had an epiphany while Mr. Lambert was making his presentation. The house is not parallel to the property line, and because of that fact, as the addition comes out, it gets slightly closer to the property line, and that explains the defect of the picture.
Are those the only two dimensions that we have to be concerned with?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Believe it or not, it meets the setback requirements, side.
All the others are not being affected.
No,
I mean, it's none of our business.
It goes to show you that on one of these lots that was created well before that the 15% is very rigorous from the standpoint of doing anything. So it means that you, in effect, that if you build a 2-story structure, you're not necessarily impinging upon the setback lines of 25 feet by utilizing all that space. The 15% kicks in much sooner than that. And these people are having to remove a shed in order to qualify. So, but those are the, if you say that the deck does not give you any pre-existing status, because I can't prove that it was lawfully pre-existing and non-conforming, then that 2/10 of a or the 18 feet is the basic nonconformity that would allow the other nonconformities to continue to exist.
Are there any questions by any members of the board of Mr. Landreth?
Just out of curiosity, and this perhaps David, is the second floor portion to the west, I guess it would be, is it, it looks in both cases where that doesn't change, is it a cathedral ceiling approach or an
No.
attic?
No, there are 2 bedrooms upstairs.
But to the left of the chimney, if you will, on the proposed elevations, all it says is roof below. It's more curiosity than,
Perhaps the office has a cathedral space in it. I don't know that for a fact. I don't believe it does either.
It's single story.
Oh, well, it's a single story, but the question is, does it have a cathedral ceiling? No. Okay. So it is not a cathedral
so
ceiling.
it's an attic or something like
Yes.
vacant.
I think
Sure.
perhaps just an architectural element to make it look attractive.
In the office portion, as it introduces the angled roof line, is that
That's
To
an
the height?
architectural element as well.
okay?
It matches the pitch of the doghouse dormers in the front.
Mhm. No, it's a very nice design. No other questions?
Do you have any questions, Mr. Soderstrom?
Oh, I don't.
Ms. McCartney? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor or in opposition, or commenting in general or specifically on the application? Yes, sir.
Yep, there.
You may speak, as long as we can hear you, you can speak in any place that you're comfortable.
Carl Trevisan and my wife Judy Trevisan, we are next door neighbors, 15 Dillon Road. And we're also the brothers, of course. And we favor this change. The Rosengrands are good neighbors, and they've been good neighbors in the design of this home. They've kept the character of the home. They've infringed on absolutely nothing, in my opinion. The wetland, which I've observed to be a dry land, has no water in it. One of the operative issues in both their home and ours, because they were built at the same time in the 1950s, is that they're only 20 feet wide. Someone told us that they were actually army barracks originally, 3 homes in a row, therefore the subdivision of those lots. So they're very difficult spaces to work with, and I think they've done a beautiful job of utilizing the space that's available. We certainly welcome them as full-time neighbors, and I can assure you that the pre-existing deck was pre-existing to their purchasing the home, although we didn't live right there. We've been owners within the neighborhood for quite a long time. So the deck was there, and therefore the conditions that were existing within.
Very well. Thank you, sir. Your remarks are helpful.
Can I just ask a little follow, unrelated? But David, I noticed the existing cesspools to be crushed in place and all. When it was a 5-bedroom dwelling, were those the sanitary disposal facilities?
Yes,
or
they were.
no septic system?
Just 2 cesspools.
So indeed an improvement. Okay.
Then, unless there is any further commentary, I intend to close the hearing for taking of evidence, and I propose a motion. The following public deliberation by the Zoning Board of Appeals, a quorum of qualified members being present and voting, and based upon the application of John Rosengren and Teresa Rosengren, filed May 9, 2014, based also on the site plan prepared by Ryder and Wilcox, Inc., dated April 15, 2014, based on the existing conditions plan, 2 pages, and the proposed addition renovation plans, 2 pages also, prepared by Ryder and Wilcox, Inc., dated May 5, 2014, and based on the order of conditions by the Conservation Commission of the Town of Orleans, dated May 21, 2014, either recorded or to be recorded at Barnstable Registry of Deeds. I move that the board adopt the following findings of fact. 1, the subject property, known as 15 Doan Road, Orleans, is shown as parcel 72 on Orleans map 21 and is in a R district. 2, the present use of the property is a single-family residence with 5 bedrooms and a detached shed. The proposed use of the property is a single-family residence with a relocation of the rear deck and 2 additions to the first floor and the demolition of the existing shed. 4, the proposed use will not be detrimental to the established and future character of the neighborhood and will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. 5, the alteration and reconstruction will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. 6, the site is adequate in terms of size and suitable for the proposed use. The site currently supports a 5-bedroom house, although there is 1,557 square feet of buildable upland. After the removal of the shed and the construction of the additions, the final building coverage would be 14.7%. 7, the proposed use will have no negative impact on traffic flow or safety. 8, the proposed use will have no negative impact on the visual character of the neighborhood. The building height will remain the same, and additional building coverage will be approximately 305 square feet. 9, the proposed use is isolated from, will have no impact on the method of sewage disposal, source of water, drainage, or water resources. A new septic system will be installed. 10, utilities and public services will be adequate for the proposed use. 11, noise and litter will not be increased after the construction of the proposed use. 12, there will be no adverse impact on groundwater quality and recharge volume and the water quality of coastal and fresh surface water bodies. Is there a second to the motion for findings of fact?
Second.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman, I thought I heard you say 1,557 feet of buildable upland. Did I mishear? Because it's 8,557.
I misspoke. The figure was 8,557 square feet. There being 3 square feet of wetland on which is excluded to result in the calculation of buildable upland. Is there any discussion on the motion, it's having been seconded? I see no reason to include 2 conditions. One is that the number of bedrooms is being decreased from 5 to 3, nor do I see in this situation to have the special permit conditioned on compliance with the order of conditions of the Conservation Commission. It really doesn't add anything specifically, unless there's another thought.
Question for maybe to Mr. Harrison, does that change the legal use and occupancy of the premises from a 5-bedroom to a 3-bedroom?
Still single-family home.
So it does not differentiate by bedrooms, okay.
I think that's what these folks are doing, is they're opening up that.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's usually the other way around, but I was
Yeah,
curious.
that's right. They're opening up the first floor. Then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion of findings of fact
Aye.
and opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Then based on the findings of fact, I move that the board grant a special permit pursuant to sections 164C 16, 164-21A, and 164-21C, and 164-44 of the zoning bylaw to run with the land. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Then the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Mr. Little, thank you. Let the record reflect that Mr. Mulligan is excused from the hearings, the remaining hearings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mulligan.
David?
Members of the board and the public, this is the application of, in case number 1987, of Michael and Tracy Roberge for a special permit. The property is located at 27 Cheney Road in Orleans, parcel 2 on Orleans map 42. And is there any member of the board who has had communication with the applicant or any agent or attorney of the applicant which would cause a suspicion of a conflict of interest? Then no positive answer being recorded, then I declare that the 4 members of the board who will consider this hearing are indifferent and qualified to consider.
Evening.
Good evening.
Sarah Toronto, whereas I with the law firm of Nutter, McLennan and Fish. And here on behalf of Michael and Tracy Roberge. With me also is David Little from Ryder and Wilcox, who was the engineer on the project, and Peter Polhemus and Aaron Udvardy from Polhemus, Silva and Savory Silva, who are the project architects. The project in front of you is a reconstruction of a pre-existing residential dwelling that is on a pre-existing non-conforming lot, and there are a lot of pre-existing non-conformities, both with respect to the lot and the structure. Only one of them is triggering the need for special permit, and that being the intrusion into the coastal bank. The lot was created by a subdivision plan dated 1959 and possesses 38,200 square feet in area. This is in the R district, so it is undersized. It also has 50 feet of frontage, where the requirement is now 150 feet. So the lot itself is pre-existing non-conforming. The structure on the lot that exists today was built in 1965. And it too is pre-existing non-conforming. It conforms to all the setbacks, but with respect to the lot coverage requirements, it's in excess of those. Although it's a 38,200 square foot lot, there's only 9,530 square feet of buildable upland. And that's not due to any physical top of coastal bank, but due to the technical definition of coastal bank in the state wetlands protection regulations, that in this instance, because the topography is so flat, carries all the way to the 100-year flood elevation, which is elevation 13 here, and is behind the house, so that almost in all of the property, it sits on the coastal bank as defined technically under the Wetlands Protection Act, the state act and its regulations. The only area of the lot, in fact, that's not is landward of the house, behind the house, and in the area primarily of the 25-foot side and front yard setbacks. So where the house is located, existing, is in addition to being at 36% lot coverage. It's a 3,431 square foot house. It is also on the coastal bank, so it intrudes into your coastal bank setback requirement of being 1.5 times the height away from the coastal bank. I will note that it is 41 feet from what we would physically call the top of the bank, which is the bulkhead in this instance. But again, due to that technical definition, we're sitting on the bank, and that's triggering the need for this special permit. The height of the structure is well under, both the existing structure and the proposed structure is well under the 30-foot requirement. The existing house is at 22.4 feet. The proposed structure, although the second story will be constructed out, is only going up 1.8 feet to 24.2 feet. That is still well under the 30-foot height requirement. As I noted previously, the building coverage is another instance where this particular structure is pre-existing non-conforming at 36% of the upland instead of the 15%, but it is under the 4,000 square foot requirement. So we're not here in front of you for a special permit, because this particular house is going to be for the 4,000 square foot bylaw requirement, because this particular house is going to be rebuilt in the exact same footprint. We're not moving it. There's two shifts, I should say. The foundation, they're utilizing the majority of the existing foundation, but two bump out areas are shifting. And you'll see in the front, a bump out area near the patio area is shifting, and that's solely due to line up the house. It is that bump out area is actually off center. So by shifting it over, they lose 12.5 square feet of building coverage on the seaward side of the house. And you'll see that it's tacked on in the back where a bump out was eliminated and shifted over again for aesthetic and architectural purposes. The resulting net coverage, however, does not change, and the finished house will still be 3,431 square feet in area. House does not get any closer to the coastal bank, or to the physical coastal bank, I should say, the water line, mean high water line, but it does, because it's going up 1.8 feet in height, there is an attendant increase in the intrusion into your coastal bank by 2.7 feet. And it's that 2.7 feet that's causing us to be in front of you here tonight, seeking a special permit under 164.3C, and also under 164-44 of your zoning bylaw. You've just heard them through the prior application. The standards for a special permit in this instance are set forth in your bylaw, and there's several criteria that the bylaw directs you to consider and address when these applications are in front of you. And if you'll allow me to briefly go through them, I did submit a narrative, and I don't want to bore you with them, so I'm trying to be brief. The site, in terms of making this substantially not more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing dwelling finding, the site, we contend, is adequate in terms of size for the proposed use. Although, again, it is still at 36% of building coverage, it's remaining in the exact same footprint, which footprint is well under your 4,000 square foot coverage limitation. It's utilizing the same exact foundation. In fact, there won't be any disturbance to the coastal bank area, and therefore it is adequate when compared with the existing structure, certainly, and not more detrimental to the neighborhood as a result of this change. As this is an in-kind construction of a 4-bedroom structure, it will still be 4 bedrooms when the reconstruction is complete. We believe the site is also suitable for its proposed use. It's not going to impact or alter existing traffic flow. The number of bedrooms is increasing. The same density of bedroom count will remain, so that the existing traffic flow within the neighborhood will remain the same. Similarly, we don't feel that this proposal will negatively impact the neighborhood's visual character, nor its views and vistas. And in fact, we are proposing that it will improve them significantly. And this is where I think we put a lot of the focus of our planning. There was months of planning this particular design, and because it required wetlands approval from the Conservation Commission, as well as a zoning special permit related to the coastal bank, the coastal environment and the surrounding neighborhood were a real focus of the design. And you'll see with the landscape plan that we submitted, the existing house sits barely on a almost naked lot. It is a manicured lawn right to the bulkhead, and I've given you a handout of a color copy of the landscape plan that you have in your packet, and appended to the back is an existing exhibit that was utilized in the Conservation Commission hearings, and a Google Earth image that I think really demonstrate and highlight for you how bare this particular lot is, and the room and ability, room for improvement, and the opportunity for improvement that this particular lot provided us. This particular property has over 4,507 square feet of existing impervious hardscape with paved driveway and patio areas. We're removing and replacing 4,193 square feet of that impervious hardscape with pervious hardscape, including the pavers, the pervious pavers portion of the driveway. We're also taking out over 11,000 square feet of that manicured lawn and substantially reducing it in size with extensive native mitigation plantings. The remaining lawn outside of those mitigation plantings will be the native tall fescue sod, which requires very little maintenance and no fertilization. We sometimes call it a Cape Cod lawn, but that is an enormous improvement to the environment, the coastal environment on this particular property. The plantings include a proposal to plant 16 new additional trees, approximately 1,100 new shrub and low ground cover plantings, 490 new perennial grasses and ferns, and 2 rain garden areas. You'll see one at the top of the site plan, right next to the entrance to the driveway, and then one at the bottom of where the driveway stops, sloping down to the left of the pervious pavers on the site plan. Those are natural bioretention stormwater drainage systems that capture groundwater and allow the runoff to be filtered through the plants that will be planted there. There are over 90 additional plants, 45, 46 in each of the rain gardens. So the overall result is that the stormwater drainage characteristics on the lot are greatly enhanced and improved. The coastal bank itself, and again, this entire property is coastal bank. Those soils are further stabilized with the plantings. We focus the plantings on either side of the dwelling to create a natural buffer where none exists, with the directly adjacent saltwater marsh areas on either side of the structure. That bulkhead only goes up around the area of the lawn and stops. On either side of the structure where the driveway is, there is no barrier between the lawn and the marsh. So we focused all of the plantings, a lot of the plantings on either side of that house, again, to provide that natural buffer, stabilize the soils in those areas, and enhance the wildlife habitat greatly in those areas. Those are concerns, obviously, of your Conservation Commission: sedimentation control, erosion, wildlife habitat, stormwater drainage. But I think they also sort of overlap into the concern of this particular board with respect to the setback from the coastal bank. The zoning concern relative to that setback would be that the displacement of floodwaters is appropriately contained. And certainly here, we're not increasing the footprint, we're not increasing the runoff, but we are enhancing and further enabling the soils here to absorb those stormwaters and prevent them from running off onto neighboring properties. So relative to those criteria of your special permit standards, we feel we're improving the neighborhood, not only the neighborhood's visual character, views and vistas, but also the method of drainage on site. With respect to the views and vistas, obviously this particular house, and this was sort of funny at the Conservation Commission hearings, I know that it was your purview to speak to the aesthetic of the house. They have their own aesthetic component of the bylaw, but it pertains to the wetlands and not necessarily the structure. They all made a comment about what a beautiful house it is. It's certainly going to be a lovely house to look at when you are from the water. What we've done here, and again, this was an exhibit that was used at the Conservation Commission hearings, you have actual photographs of an existing winter shop, which we took from across Meeting House Pond. This is this sort of ranch-style house with a sort of uniform asphalt roof line. This is the view that was taken this winter. They shopped in, you can see the trees exist. They just shopped in leaves on the trees so they looked more leafed out. That would be existing in the summer, but you can see it's exceptionally barren. And really kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. The peninsula also sticks out into the waters of Meeting House Pond, and can kind of be seen from 3 sides. So again, it was important that we surround the house with plantings. Going up 1.5, we brought the plantings up by more than that, by 3 to 4 feet in some instances. So you were making up for that increase in height. This is what the proposed structure will look like in the winter, and this will look like what it looks like when it's all leafed out with the additional plantings down below. And here in the winter view, you can see them even a little bit more clearly. And you also see the structure where the roof line is broken up. It's going to be a shingle roof line. The lines of the roof are extending down towards the landscaping, again, breaking up that massing, and utilizing a more Cape Cod traditional style than the existing sort of more uniform, flat, straight structure. The other photograph that we took, sorry, another element of this particular landscape design was that it afforded a lot of screening to the house. From the front view, if you were driving a boat from the landing over here, coming in front of the house, by the house, I think you see that the house is more nicely set within the landscape. From the side, it's almost entirely screened. This is an existing shot from that landing. Once all of these, the 16 trees and all the plantings are put in, you really see that the house will be substantially screened. One thing that's on the landscape, the difference of the color sketch that I handed you today and the actual final big landscape plan that we provided you with in black and white, was there was one additional hearing between the time that color chalk was given and the final approved plan, and that was that they asked us to plant some additional plantings here that would actually try and crawl over the edge of the bulkhead and bind down to break up that as an aesthetic too from the watershed. And we did. You'll see on our landscape plan that they added some vines and low shrubs that would further obfuscate that sort of flat vertical surface of the bulkhead from the water. Again, softening the look and the view from the water, screening it from the water, and providing a better aesthetic. But again, probably more significantly, what those plantings do is stabilize those soils and make the bank better able to perform its functions of flood control and storm damage prevention. And that's really what our focus was here. This particular house is not going to be blocking any views and vistas. It sticks out in the point. It's not in anybody's way. Moving on with your criteria, the method of sewage disposal on this site is going to remain the same. It's already a denitrification system for the 4 bedrooms. We're not including the bedrooms, we use that septic system there. And enhanced nitrogen removal will be continued and added additional benefit here. All other utilities and public services remain and will not be impacted by this proposal. There won't be any increased noise or litter or any increase over existing conditions. I think I probably already addressed how the project will serve to improve the groundwater quality as well as the abutting coastal surface water bodies, not only by virtue of the enhanced existing nitrogen removal septic system, but also due to all those coastal plantings that we've added. It's going to significantly enhance that buffer zone to the coastal marsh, salt marsh on either side of the structure, as well as improve the bank's ability to perform its wetland functions and provide wildlife habitat. So in light of all of these improvements that we're making to the site, we feel that the 1.8-foot increase in the height is more than offset by virtue of all these improvements. The Conservation Commission agreed and issued its permit at our meeting on April 29th. I believe the order of conditions came out right as I was filing this application, so you should have a copy of it in your packets. And I hope you will agree with them that this is an improvement, and in fact, over existing conditions, it will definitely not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. I think that's all. I've sort of rambled on here for quite some time. The architect and engineers are here to answer any further questions or specific questions that you might have relative to the design or the site plan.
Very well, thank you. Does any member of the board, Mr. Sarsden, do you have any questions?
No.
Ms. McCartney?
As the house is in the flood zone, did you make any provisions?
We're okay. We're out of.
The flood zone elevation is 13. The top of foundation elevation is 13.05, and the first floor is another foot
Okay.
above that, so it complies with
So they can get flood insurance?
Right.
Okay. That's it.
Mr. McCarthy, do you have any questions?
Yes, since the application is both in the alternative for a variance, the suggesting that a finding would obviate the need for the variance and limit it to a special permit?
Right. My reading of the Gale case, and I think that town council agreed, is that, and now your bylaw has been amended anyway since the last time I was here, to allow even an increase in the nonconformity to be addressed by special permit. But in the event that you find for some reason that this was substantially more detrimental, we can move to the request for a variance. And so as a safety, sort of belts and suspenders approach, I just throw it in there. But I'm hoping that we won't have to go into that.
You know Mary Marshall,
Yes.
who is a colleague and mentor in their respective arguing in the alternative,
Oh,
just to
great.
cover, mostly in Boston with ISD things, but,
That's right.
so good, dear friends, say hello to her if you will.
I will certainly do that.
So I'll shift it to you, Mr. Chairman.
I don't have any questions. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this application? No response. Is there any opposition or anyone who wants to speak, just commenting upon this application? No positive response. Then I will close the application and hearing for evidence, and going to ask for the sense of the board, given that a successful vote would require 4 members. I'll speak first. It occurred to me, I'm in favor of this, of granting a special permit which would allow, on proper findings of fact, a special permit under 164-44. But it occurred to me with the first set of the photographs, and maybe it wasn't discussed in great detail in your materials, but it occurred to me that the neighborhood, we generally consider those abutting properties, and especially those which are within a particular distance according to the assessors maps. But from Orleans all the way to Beverly Farms and the North Shore, it's the neighborhood also consists of the neighboring waters. This project has been designed to, according to this view, the front yard of the house is no longer that which is closer to Cheney, but it's to Meeting House Pond. And the project and application, with all the plantings and landscaping, you see, really is devoted to that aspect of the property rather than what you would ordinarily consider as neighborhood, because it's close to abutting properties or landowners.
Well, I think that the other reason we weren't focusing on the rear, because it really is at the tip of the peninsula, so all the houses in the neighborhood are behind it. And it's really heavily wooded behind it, so you don't really, and it's lower than the houses behind it. You can see that they're substantially screened.
So there's zero impact there.
From there.
But the fact is that if there's any consideration of the impact in the neighborhood, we're looking at it from the water side.
And that's the Conservation Commission's perspective, is always from the water up. So it was the same, again, I sort of gave the same speech I gave to the Conservation Commission, which I usually don't do, but it seemed very appropriate here that the same aesthetic principles were applicable here as well.
Well, absolutely, and you gave us 2 different views.
Yes.
One from the side.
Yeah.
So passing watercraft see and admire this, or make judgments upon
That's right.
the work, design, and the structure itself. So it's not unique,
Right.
but
Mr. Chairman,
something we might consider.
do you think this rises to a case where perhaps the fish should have been notified of the hearing, or,
I don't know. It occurred to me that in an earlier hearing, many months ago, there was some commentary about the project perhaps being somewhat objectionable because the noise from the property would carry over the water to properties which wouldn't have otherwise been notified under the statute.
That's very interesting.
Just a thought, just a thought. So, and that's one of the reasons why I'm in favor of the application, because it does honor to all aspects of the natural features of the lot.
Just a curious question. It's on the same footprint substantially, but, and since we don't have FAR within the zoning here, I'm just curious, will the habitables area of the house increase?
It will increase. The second floor essentially is being built out. Right now it's primarily empty storage space, although there is a room over the garage. So that second floor storage place will be built out. The lower floor is becoming more living space with a master bedroom, but the bedrooms that are downstairs are moving upstairs. That storage space.
Thank you.
Oh, I looked at the existing plan and thought that's what you drew.
Yeah.
And I was like, now it makes sense to see the second floor utilized.
Yes.
Are you in general approval, Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Soderstrom and Mr. McCarthy? Then in that case, following public deliberation by the Zoning Board of Appeals, a quorum of qualified members being present voting, based upon the application of Michael and Tracy Roberge, date filed May 9, 2014, based also on the site plan showing the proposed renovations prepared by Ryder and Wilcox, Inc., dated March 12, 2014, revised April 7, 2014. Based also upon several plans drawn by Balhemus Safari da Silva dated December 20th, 2013, in connection with the existing structures, and May 7th, 2014, for the proposed structure, and also based also on the landscaping plans, and based on the order of conditions by the Conservation Commission of the Town of Orleans, dated April 30, 2014, to be recorded at Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. I move that the board adopt the following findings of fact. 1, the subject property known as 27 Cheney Road, Orleans, is shown as parcel 2 on Orleans map 42 and is in a R district. 2, the present use of the property is a single-family residence with 4 bedrooms. 3, the proposed use of the property is a single-family residence with 4 bedrooms. According to the proposed plans. Four. The proposed use will not be detrimental to the established and future character of the neighborhood and will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. 5. The alteration and reconstruction will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. 6. The site is adequate in terms of size and suitable for the proposed use. 7. The proposed use will have no negative impact on traffic flow or safety. 8. The proposed use will have no negative impact on the visual character of the neighborhood. 9. The proposed use is isolated from and will have no impact on the method of sewage disposal, source of water, drainage, or water resources. 10. Utilities and public services will be adequate for the proposed use or change in use. 11, noise and litter will not be increased after construction of the proposed use. 12, there will be no adverse impact on groundwater quality and recharge volume and the water quality of coastal and fresh surface water bodies. That concludes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. McCarthy seconds. Is there any a discussion on the motion? Then all those in favor
Aye.
and opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Based on the findings of fact, I move that the board grant a special permit pursuant to sections 164-3C and 164-21A and 164-21C and 164-44 of the zoning bylaw to run with the land. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? I see no reason to condition the grant of a special permit on the compliance with the, in this case, with the Orleans Conservation Commission, their order of conditions being sufficiently and acceptably specialized within their expertise. I think that this is, the Orleans Conservation Commission can ensure compliance without our adding extra conditions. Any further discussion on the motion to grant a special permit?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I could think of to add that could improve the great design and detail that goes along with this is perhaps a change in the name of the road. But
All those in favor
aye.
and opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
The variance. I can withdraw the application for variance.
I move to accept the withdrawal without prejudice of the application for a variance. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor
Aye.
and opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Actually, a procedural question, when we approve the special permit such that the variance, it's in lieu of the variance, you still need to withdraw it as a formality?
Yeah, see, what would happen is if we did it if we did it with prejudice, then what would happen is if someone would appeal the special permit, then she'd be foreclosed. May this meeting be adjourned?
Do we have to approve minutes?
We did.
Is this, I just was reading this bowling alley fiasco thing, anything that,
We'll see you in a couple of weeks on that.
okay.
Very well, then we'll
Bye-bye.
adjourn the hearing.